At FEMSA, we are proud to be present in the lives of millions of people over 125 years. There are many stories that arise around a soda or a beer, family lunches and dinners to celebrate, work meetings. Who has not had great stories over a beer? Or even before, when you go to OXXO for a meeting with friends. Welcome to this journey through our history, where decade after decade, you were the protagonist. While the Lumiere brothers filmed the first movie ever, which lasted just 46 seconds, we had just opened our Cuauhtémoc brewery in Monterrey. Art Nouveau at the time framed Manuel and Federico's friendship. When we launched Bohemia beer into the market and added crown caps to our bottles, automobiles were reaching the masses and telephones were reaching Mexican homes. In fact, that's how Margarita and Felix met.
Me dio mucho gusto hablar con usted.
Gracias, señor. A mí también me da mucho gusto saludarlo. Permítame un momento. Ahora lo enlazo.
No, espere. Me gustaría seguir escuchando su voz.
Lo sigo atendiendo.
While Mexico was living its revolution, Antonia enlivened a bonfire in the División del Norte. This decade, nothing stopped us. Nothing has happened here. Let's get to work, was the phrase that immortalized Don Luis Quesada after the reopening of the brewery during the revolution. And when World War I concluded, we changed the way of serving draft beer by adding carbon dioxide gas. We began the 30s officially starting our exports. In fact, a Saturn was the first beer that Tony tasted. It was his favorite. We have always been a company committed to the social development of Mexico, and Tecnológico de Monterrey, created in 1943, is still one of our greatest prides. We acquired and canned Tecate beer during the golden age of Mexican cinema, when Little Richard, crocodile taxis, rock and roll, and colored television were fashionable. The same decade in which Ines and Hector found another excuse to be together. In the 60s, we launched the Caguama. At that moment, Javier scored the most important goal of his life. It was not long before the Beatles began to be heard, and man walked on the moon. We all love the 70s, a decade in which people danced disco, the decade that saw the birth of the first store of our chain, OXXO. In the 80s, who doesn't remember the Walkman? They became popular very close to the time when Cuauhtémoc Brewery merged with Moctezuma. The same season in which Sylvia enjoyed one of the most important prides of her life, when her son graduated from Tech. In the 90s, we partnered with the Coca-Cola Company, and we expanded our business outside of Mexico by acquiring 51% of the franchise in Buenos Aires. At the same time, the world was interconnecting. Home computers began to be common, and growing internet users exchanged the first emails. It was then that Paco, after 15 years, saw his brother again. The decade ended, cell phones were being popularized, and we started to operate FEMSA Logistics, which together with Coca-Cola FEMSA, enabled us to an orderly expansion across the continent, following the acquisition of Pan American Beverages Inc. in 2003. We acquired Jugos del Valle when photography, literature, music, television, movies, and even shopping were digitalized. Suddenly, the words like and share acquired a new technological sense. That year, Diego became the world's favorite photographer. It did not take long for, worried about the future, we instituted FEMSA Foundation, an instrument of social investment to support the conservation and sustainable use of water, and improving the quality of life of the communities where we operate. Around the same time, our production of commercial coolers was renamed Imbera, driving new standards of innovation, quality, and efficiency in this industry. Our competitiveness reached international levels to acquire 20% of Heineken. This decade has marked big changes. The word viral has more meanings than a disease. And even Mariana has charted new ground in answering the most important question she's been asked. Much has happened in these years. When the world danced Gangnam Style, we had shortened distances as OXXO reached 10,000 establishments. Now, everyone has what they crave for, around the corner of their homes, and, if you intend to go further, we also created OXXO Gas. Also, for health and wellness, we decided to diversify our market by acquiring Moderna Pharmacy's franchises in the northwest of the country and DISA in the south. Carlitos is the proof of how much we want to be part of the history of the new generations. FEMSA reached the new continent by acquiring 51% of Coca-Cola Bottlers Philippines Inc. in the Philippines. Yes, a decade of rapid expansion. Now that all electric cars hit the market and printing in 3 dimensions has brought benefits to the medical world, we consolidated ourselves as the leading distributor of Coca-Cola in Latin America and one of the most important companies in the continent. With food franchises like Doña Tota and Santa Clara, and the acquisition of new pharmacies, Farmacon in northwest Mexico and Cruz Verde in Chile. Besides being an important promoter of culture, with an art collection that expands to Europe and Asia. Yes, FEMSA has grown over 125 years, and at the same time she, they, them, and you have also grown. Today we have presence in 12 countries, but in reality, we have always been there. To share with you and that you can also share with others. Your passions, your affairs, your joys, your falls, and your comebacks. The simplest stories in the end have been incredible. We believe in the importance of each little story. Share lives. Share stories. In FEMSA, we have been creating stories for 125 years.